one set, and each of these players could be going home. So it's a really volatile matchup. We have kind of Tailwind versus Trick Room, the you know, kind of recurring like VGC storyline, but the Tailwind team actually has a lot of tools against Trick Room, and actually we're not even going to see a Trick Room lead. It's Incineroar and Urshifu.
Yeah, a very safe lead from both these trainers. You have the Incineroar and the Urshifu out on the field for Leonard versus the Terapagos and the Amoonguss on the field for Andrew. So that Amoonguss coming out in a supportive position with the Terapagos to redirect attacks and to help protect its partner.
Absolutely. Now Leonard is pressuring Terapagos to not go for a defensive option here, or to not go for the Terastallization. He says, hey, if you Terastallize close combat, it'll do super effective damage, you will lose that Terra Shell, and also I can pressure that Terra Shell with Fake Out. So on the one hand, like, you've got a lot of pressure on the Terapagos, but you don't have that much pressure on the Amoonguss. Here's the Fake Out. It is just into the Amoonguss here, so it's going to take a little bit of damage, but it's also going to do a little bit back with the Rocky Helmet. As Urshifu, let's see what it wants to go for here. It's just going to be the U-turn, actually. I like this a lot. You're doing not too much damage to Terapagos, but you're breaking that Terra Shell, and that's going to be very important for Leonard later on.
You're also pivoting out the Urshifu prior to it taking any damage this turn, and as Leonard's Urshifu is running Choice Scarf, you have to imagine that it may not be as invested in bulk compared to some other Pokemon. Raging Bolt, though, from Leonard's side of the field, does have plenty of bulk with Assault Vest, and could have taken this Terra Starstorm a little bit more comfortably. Unfortunately, though, Andrew making the correct call there, targeting down that Incineroar and just getting a one-hit knockout onto it after the Rocky Helmet recoil.
Yeah, I'm shocked to see that. I think, you know, we saw earlier how valuable it was that Leonard was running an Incineroar that was super fast, and here we see the exact opposite, the drawback. Like, you only have so many stat points to use in your Pokemon to train them, and by putting them into speed, you're losing them in bulk. I'm shocked that that wasn't even a critical hit. Raging Bolt and, you know, Calyrex Ice, they are good Pokemon here, but the thing is, like, you've lost a Pokemon, and now there's nothing really stopping just the damage from Terapagos. So Leonard definitely feels like he's on the back foot here.
Yeah, I think Andrew also very smartly not Terastallizing that Terapagos turn number 1. If you did get flinched by the Fake Out, you would still have a lot of health and a lot of bulk, and you could then also save your Terastallization for later if things went horribly wrong.
Yeah.
But now that the Urshifu is off the field, now that you have this opportunity to go for the Terastallization, you have to take it so that you can do big damage with the Terra Starstorm, because at the end of the day, if the Amoonguss gets to attack at all this turn, it's not going to be able to match the damage.
Absolutely. Here's Terra Starstorm. You can do a fair bit to both Pokemon with the choice specs, but it is slightly weaker than when it was not Terastallized. You see it actually doing not a ridiculous amount of damage. Here's Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt's coming out here, doing actually a meaningful jump to Terapagos, and Glacial Lance coming out here. Is this going to pick up the Amoonguss? It depends on how it's trained, but that chip damage might be pretty impactful. It is. Amoonguss goes down, and all of a sudden I feel like Leonard's kind of back into this. He did take some damage on both his Pokemon, but they're both so tanky. Calyrex getting an attack boost here, and Raging Bolt is now threatening a Thunderclap here, which could be a really big deal.
The Terapagos at such low health, using the choice specs as well, means that if Leonard decides to go for that Thunderclap, the only way that Andrew can protect that Pokemon would be switching it out. But is that a risk you want to take?
The question here is, how much is Calyrex Ice going to take from Urshifu? Because if Calyrex Ice can get Trick Room up here, we know that it's running close combat and it has an attack boost. And so with Chi-Yu, with Terapagos, with Urshifu, these Pokemon all take so much damage from Calyrex. And you know what? I bet like maybe close combat and Aqua Jet might pick up the KO, right? Maybe Surging Strike plus Aqua Jet, it might get the KO on Calyrex, but there is no Aqua Jet. Andrew has opted to run Swords Dance, which is an incredible move and is really, really strong, but runs a huge risk here if Trick Room goes up. So what will Andrew go for here?
A huge risk is being taken as Terapagos switches out of the field and Chi-Yu takes its place. While the Beads of Ruin ability will help strengthen Terapagos' attacks later on in the endgame, it's gonna have to stick around, but Leonard goes for the Thunderclap into that Urshifu, gets a one-hit knockout, and this Calyrex Ice Rider foregoes the Trick Room. This is a Glacial Lance with the attack boost, single target is not enough to pick the KO Chi-Yu, but it's Choice Scarf, the Terapagos' choice specs. Raging Bolt has a great decision to make here as to who you Thunderclap first.
Leonard Kraft won this game in that single turn. He identified that the obvious play was to go for the Thunderclap into the Terapagos because, as you mentioned, Gabby, it's holding a choice item, and we are seeing the choice item's downside here, which is that you cannot switch moves, meaning you cannot use a defensive option like Protect. So Thunderclap into the Terapagos would have been a very safe move. It could not protect, but Leonard identifies, hey, I just saw that Terra Star Storm didn't even, like, it doesn't do half of my health, so I can actually make a prediction that's somewhat safe, because if Urshifu goes for Protect, well, it's still, like, you're not really taking that much damage, you'll still survive the Terra Star Storm, and Calyrex will get a second attack boost, and if you go for the obvious play of switching out the Terrapagos and attacking with Urshifu, then I will win the game on the spot. So Leonard showing that the threat of Trick Room actually applied so much pressure and actually used Raging Bolt offensively with Calyrex to just close out that game, but that just takes so much guts, Gabby, because it felt like Leonard was in control. It felt like he had a safe Thunderclap into Terrapagos and Trick Room, and something that sets, again, good players apart from great players, and something that could catapult Leonard into the finals of this tournament is his willingness to respect his opponent, to say, I know that you know that I have this option, I know that you are good, I know that you will respect me, and therefore, I'm going to act as if you are good, as if you are a great player. Andrew says, you know what? I am a great player, thank you very much. And Leonard says, no, actually, thank you.
I'm glad to hear they're polite about it at the end of the day.
Two very polite trainers, from what I can tell. Again, I am wired directly into their brains, so.
Of course. I mean, that explains so much, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later.
We don't have to. Anyway, we're jumping into game 2 here. These players, look at how dialed in they are. I mean, that's how you have to play. That's how you have to be. There is so much on the line. These are these players' dreams, right? It's a Pokemon battle, yes, but it's a Pokemon battle that these players care so much about. And the title, the opportunity to win the title of regional champion means so much. Leonard showing a Pokemon adjustment already here, swing out of the gates with Farigiraf and Incineroar, a Pokemon that we did not see in the first game. Farigiraf as Andrew switches up his leads as well.
Unfortunately, though, for Leonard, Farigiraf is not going to appreciate the presence of that Chi-Yu on the opposing side of the field. Beads of Ruin is in play. Terrapagos will be the fastest Pokemon on the field behind that Chi-Yu with the Choice Scarf, and once this one turn of Fake Out is gone from Leonard's side of the field, I feel like we're going to start seeing some big damage fly.
We can, but the interesting thing here is that the Chi-Yu is Terra Ghost, and so if you want to go for the Terra Ghost, you forfeit your ability to turn Terrapagos into the Pokemon that is the most scary version of it, with that Terra Star Storm that's a Stellar type move that hits both opponents. So actually, Terrapagos doesn't want to lose the Terra Shell, switching into Amoonguss, and Andrew saying, I don't think you're going to Fake Out my Chi-Yu. He's correct. Fake Out goes out into the Amoonguss, the threat of Terra Ghost keeping Chi-Yu safe as Dark Pulse comes out. Is it enough to pick up the KO on Farigiraf? It's not! Leonard survives! Will it flinch? It does!
Oh, that Farigiraf had the opportunity to go for an attack there that turn, but thanks to the secondary effect of that flinch from the Dark Pulse, it was unable to move. Now you have this Amoonguss on the field, which really appreciates the fact that Farigiraf is at such low health, as when we were talking about this in Team Preview, Leonard's anti-Amoonguss Pokemon really is that Farigiraf.
That's right. That was a huge, huge turn. I mean, without the flinch, I think this game could look very, very differently. And yeah, I mean, a good call from Leonard to know that he would survive a Dark Pulse, but yeah, it's not going to take a second one, I'll tell you that much. Farigiraf going down there, that 30% chance to flinch coming up huge. And now what is Incineroar going to do? Because if Leonard does not have a Amoonguss in the back, something is going to be falling asleep. Here's the Flare Blitz coming out into the Amoonguss, not picking up the KO. That's a bulky Amoonguss, and it's actually going to do a lot of damage in return with both the Rocky Helmet and the Flare Blitz recoil. Incineroar hasn't been attacked yet except by Amoonguss's Rocky Helmet, and look at how much health it's already lost. Over 60%, forced to eat the Citrus Berry probably far earlier than it would like to.
Yeah, and with no safety goggles available to it either, as Farigiraf was holding that item, that Incineroar is put to sleep.
Yeah, this is looking bad for Leonard.
To Leonard's benefit, he does have the opportunity for a Pokemon to come out onto the field now, and you are going to outspeed the Amoonguss at least.
That's true.
With the Chi-Yu locked into Dark Pulse and looking at Leonard's Pokemon, I mean, you have to assume we're going to see either the Calyrex Ice Rider or the Urshifu from him.
Yeah, I think it could also be, Raging Bolt is the other option. Like, Urshifu's obviously extremely, extremely good, but Raging Bolt felt like it did so much work that last game that I do understand the desire to bring it here. I mean, it makes sense, right? The problem really isn't the Pokemon on the field, it's the Pokemon in the back, right? Like, it's this Terrapagos mostly, because if it weren't for the Terrapagos, you could have brought in Calyrex Ice Rider, maybe Terra had gone for the Trick Room or just gone for a KO on the Chi-Yu and then figured it out from there. Terrapagos switching in here, getting the Regenerator ability on Amoonguss, saying, hey, I know that you don't have great ways to hit it. Here's another Dark Pulse. It is being boosted by the Beads of Ruin. It's his first turn of sleep, and Incineroar was guaranteed to take that. The question is Raging Bolt going to be able to attack here? It is Thunderbolt. It is going to be weakened by the Terra Shell here, so Terrapagos losing the value out of that Terra Shell. A Paralysis could turn this around. It is, oh my god, that actually did a lot of damage thanks to the Beads of Ruin. So, yeah, the Terra type on this Raging Bolt is electric, actually. I almost wonder, Gabby, do you think there's a chance that with the Terra Electric and the now not super, like the neutral damage and the Beads of Ruin, is there a chance that Terra Electric Thunderclap could knock out Terrapagos?
I mean, if anybody would know that, it would be Leonard Kraft III, who is arguably the most knowledgeable Pokemon trainer out there in terms of mechanics. And I think beyond that, honestly, this is a shot that you have to take.
He's going for
Your
it.
Incineroar is asleep. You probably aren't going to wake up this turn, but you know that if you attack with the Thunderclap, and if you go for this Terastallization, you're guaranteed to hit one of these Pokemon, as again, they're both holding those choice items.
Yeah, if this works, Thunderclap comes out, will it KO? Terrapagos just got so much tankier, but it is a very powerful move. Well, not very close, unfortunately. Dark Pulse coming out here as well. It is worth noting, this game is not definitely over. Like, there is still a way for Leonard to get back into it. This is going to KO the Raging Bolt and will do a lot of damage to the Incineroar. I mean, it might KO. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, yeah, I think this game is over, Gabby. We're going to game 3. I do think that was the right play from Leonard, though, identifying that, hey, you know what? I'm so far behind. That flinch just put me so far behind. The only way back into this is I need Thunderclap to KO Terrapagos, and to his credit, he would have got it with a critical hit. If he'd gotten a critical hit, woken up with Incineroar, gotten a parting shot off, this entire game could be different. And so we do see his final Pokemon here is the Calyrex Ice Rider. But yeah, unfortunately against the 4 Pokemon left, there's just nothing Leonard can do. And this is one of the weaknesses of Farigiraf, is that it's very vulnerable on that setup turn. And one of the strengths of Terrapagos is that Leonard did not want to Terrastallize his Farigiraf turn 1 to take less damage from the Dark Pulse because of the threat of Terrapagos. So it's a 4-0 victory for Andrew Zheng here in the second game of our best of 3, meaning that whoever wins this final game of the set will be advancing towards the finals.
Yeah, I really do like how Leonard tried to lead the Farigiraf in this game number 2, to just respect the fact that, yes, Andrew did lead Amoonguss both games, and really just say, hey, I want to make sure that this Amoonguss is essentially neutralized before I try to go for my speed control, before I try and go on the offense. But unfortunately for Leonard, there just wasn't enough time, and Farigiraf took too much damage from that Dark Pulse.
Yeah, I think the turn 1 was really important there, right?
Yeah.
Where Fake Out, if that had gone into Chi-Yu, and I think on a Terrapagos team, you can risk it going into Chi-Yu there because of the Terragos being so costly. Terrapagos' stats improved in a meaningful fashion when it Terrastallizes, and both its HP and special attack stat become significantly higher, as well as Terra Star Storm becoming a spread move. And so, yeah, it can be a pretty big deal to get that Terra Star Storm and the Terrastallization off. And so, because of that, Terrapagos players rarely want to Terrastallize another Pokemon. It does happen occasionally, and of course, Leonard might have felt like he needed to respect the option, but you can typically be a little bit more aggressive with assuming that the other Pokemon are not going to Terra because the cost is so high of Terrastallizing a Pokemon that is not Terrapagos.
So then that begs the question, though, if you go for the run back with the Incineroar against the Chi-Yu lead, do you go for the Fake Out into that spot, or do you think that Andrew Zheng's just going to take a huge swing and go for that Terrastallization?
It's tough. In a game 2, when you're up a game, it feels like that's the time to risk it, right?
Exactly.
Say, you know, this is already a niche move, but in a game 3, I mean, how many games this weekend have we seen by a player making an incredibly aggressive play, kind of betting, going all in on a Pokemon, on like a specific play, calling a specific option. And so now that it's game 3, especially because you revealed what happened the last game, I would be a lot more nervous to go for it here. And we see that Leonard probably agrees, as he does lead off with Incineroar and Raging Bolt against Urshifu and Amoonguss.
So once again, we do see the Amoonguss on the field for Andrew, but it's going to be the Urshifu next to it. A Raging Bolt is a great adjustment here as well, because it will be able to at least threaten the Urshifu pretty well. We saw how well it could take the attacks from Terrapagos and Chi-Yu, but unfortunately, I think this Incineroar is in a bit of a tough spot here. You want to try and flinch the Amoonguss so you don't get put to sleep, but then you're going to be taking a Surging Strikes from that Urshifu. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a very dangerous position for both players, because right now you're being threatened by Fake Out and Thunderbolt. There was the option for Swords Dance, protect both, go for a Swords Dance, but not what Andrew's going for here. Surging Strikes comes out, it does a lot of damage. The thing is, this Incineroar is holding the Citrus Berry, and if I know Leonard, it might have been trained to survive the Surging Strikes after the Citrus Berry, but the Rocky Helmet might make things a little bit more complicated. Second hit of Surging Strikes, I don't think it's going to be enough. I think the Rocky Helmet is actually going to put Incineroar, it's going to make the difference here. Incineroar goes down after a single Surging Strikes, but what did Raging Bolt go for? Will it KO this Urshifu in a single hit? Because if it does, this could change the game immensely. The move coming out is Volt Switch. I don't think it's going to be enough damage.
No,
oh my goodness, it is! Is it a critical hit? It's not.
No.
Raging Bolt has a ton of special attack investment, or maybe it just, yeah, like somehow picks up the KO and Raging Bolt is switching out here. But Gabby, I don't think that's that bad of a trade for Leonard.
I don't think so either, because now Leonard has the opportunity to get that Farigiraf out on the field in a situation where the Incineroar could then maybe come or the Incineroar was just knocked out, but still, you can have that support alongside of that Pokemon, so you're not in as bad of a position as it was in game number 1. You do have to respect the threat of this Amoonguss here, but we know Calyrex Ice Rider will outspeed and could potentially knock out from this range.
That's right, yeah. So, I mean, Ice Rider we saw in game 1, Fake Out plus Glacial Lance was enough. Most times that should be enough, unless the Amoonguss has a ridiculous amount of defensive training. As Raging Bolt comes back in here, I love this positioning from Leonard. What this is saying is, hey, you can Rage Powder, yes, but that means that I'm going to get your Amoonguss, and if you don't Rage Powder, then Thunderbolt will break the Terra Shell. Oh my goodness, we are seeing something extremely unexpected as Terrapagos. Yeah, this is pretty ridiculous. So Hyper Beam is different than Terra Starstorm. Terra Starstorm actually becomes weaker when Terrapagos terrestrializes because of the fact that the move turns into a Stellar type, so it's not getting the same type attack bonus from Terrapagos being a normal type. Hyper Beam, on the other hand, keeps not only the same type attack bonus by being a normal type move, it also gets a Stellar boost on top of that. So here's the Stellar Terra from Andrew. We saw how quickly Andrew locked in. Seems very confident that it will pick up the KO here if Andrew decides to go for it. Here's Terra Stellar from Terrapagos. This turn could decide the game, Gabby.
This turn could decide the game. A big risk, though, as you are not able to attack next turn with Terrapagos. Hyper Beam, though, into the Ice
It's a one-hit KO!
That's a one-hit knockout. That Terrapagos was able to make that work. Can take the Thunderbolt as well here, and with the Raging Bolt put to sleep by Spore, Andrew might have just found a way to break through Leonard's strategy.
It all depends on the last Pokemon. If it's Farigiraf, Leonard does have a way to wake up, and he has a way to attack around the safety goggles, but if it's Urshifu, I don't know if it's going to be possible for Leonard to get around this Amoonguss. Leonard taking his time, he's thinking things through. We also haven't seen the Amoonguss on Leonard's end. I don't know how good that would be here, but it is the other option. But it really comes down to this last Pokemon. We saw Urshifu in game 1, we saw Farigiraf in game 2. What is it going to be from Leonard?
Taking a moment, I think, just to process the gravitas
Urshifu.
here. I mean, if you think about what's on the line, the winner of this match will go on to the finals. The winner of this match will get championship points, will get prize money. There is so much on the line here for these trainers, and that's exactly why you saw Andrew reach for that Hyper Beam.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the out, and that could have been the winning play. Here comes a Rage Powder just to keep the Terrapagos safe this turn from any damage. Close combat, not very effective, going to drop the defense of that Urshifu, in addition to taking some recoil damage from Rocky Helmet. Raging Bolt does not have the opportunity to wake up this turn either, but really, as long as Amoonguss is around to use Rage Powder, that Terrapagos could go for another Hyper Beam.
Yeah, the thing is that Hyper Beam is only, I believe, 90% accurate, which means that if it misses a single time, this entire game could turn around. Chi-Yu only has the move Heat Wave to hit multiple targets, so if somehow Leonard were to deal with these two Pokemon, Chi-Yu could find itself in a lot of trouble. We do see actually a really risky play here from Andrew, choosing to save Terrapagos. Leonard has a way back into this game. There is a 1 in 3 chance that Raging Bolt will wake up. And if Leonard targeted down the Chi-Yu with a close combat and Raging Bolt wakes up and goes for a Draco Meteor, this game could be turned completely on its head.
Beads of Ruin will take a moment to activate here to ensure that special attacks do more. Here comes that close combat. It's a one-hit knockout onto the Chi-Yu. What will Raging Bolt do?
It's a 1 in 3 chance, Gabby. Raging Bolt, this is your moment. If you want to win this tournament, you need to wake up right now. It stays asleep. Unfortunate for Leonard as Andrew fires off with a Spore here, going to put Urshifu to sleep, and it's still not over, actually. Leonard still having this full HP Raging Bolt means that he does have a way back into this game. It's going to be so hard against these powerful Pokemon, Amoonguss and Terrapagos, but it's not over just yet.
It's not over just yet, and Terrapagos does get the opportunity here to change the attack that it's using, so it will not be relying on Hyper Beam anymore. It looks like Andrew is switching to Terra Starstorm, which should be a knockout onto that Urshifu, but will take a couple more turns for this Raging Bolt. But as long as Amoonguss is there to protect its partner in that Terrapagos, it is going to be able to go for these attacks.
How much is it going to do, Gabby? Terra Starstorm coming out here. It will KO Urshifu. The question is, how much does it do to Raging Bolt with the Assault Vest? That's not that much damage. Raging Bolt, if you wake up this turn, if you connect to Draco Meteor, you can win this game. Raging Bolt stays asleep.
We're just going to keep asking Raging Bolt to wake up here on the field and go for that Draco Meteor. But even if it does land the Draco Meteor against the Amoonguss,
it's probably
will
over.
it be able to follow up with a knockout onto that Terapagos?
Leonard,
the odds are just getting slimmer and slimmer in this match.
Yeah, Leonard's only chance is that he can tank 2 Terra Starstorms that are now stronger by being single target, and I think that that's not going to be enough here. There is still one way forward. Draco Meteor comes out. If it KOs the Amoonguss, there is one final out. It gets a critical hit.
All right.
Not sure if that mattered. Gabby, let me tell you, the only way that I see that Leonard can survive, can win this game is he has saved his Terra to the very end. If he goes for it here, he can go for Terra Electric, Thunderclap, and it will not KO unless he gets a critical hit. Critical hit, Terra Electric, Thunderclap, roughly a 1 in 24 chance. That is Leonard's only way back into this game. Raging Bolt terastallizes. Leonard identifies that it's his only way to win. He knows Raging Bolt won't make it through this turn. Thunderclap comes out 23 out of 24 times. Raging Bolt will be losing and Angel will be winning, but what will it be here? Well,
that was not the critical hit, unfortunately for Leonard. It was a perfectly calculated turn, but just did not turn out right. Raging Bolt will be KO'd by the Terra Starstorm, and Andrew Zheng is going to be moving on to the finals here in Indianapolis.
Congratulations to Andrew. A very, very well played game. Something I want to highlight is I loved his decision to switch out to Terapagos